A language you do not build in your head. A language is not like a math or a science where the teacher gives you puzzle pieces in the form of vocab and grammar, and you have to sit inside your head and drill it and learn it and drill it into your brain consciously. What's up, guys? I'm recording this intro. I'm recording this intro at the end of the video because I like to give all my thoughts and then do a video intro in the beginning. So I'll tell you retroactively what this video was about, but because I already said it. The video is going to be about why I think Duolingo has defenders, like why I think Duolingo doesn't work, but people say it does. I want to go over that. And then also I talk about, comprehensible input, how I started and what I do now. I get in arguments all the time with these people in comment sections defending Duolingo, but their arguments are always so bad, and I honestly really do doubt that they actually learned a language through Duolingo. Like, in my opinion, there's only two ways to interpret someone saying Duolingo helped them learn a language. There's one way, or maybe there's three. One way is they're saying, I used it for like a little bit in the beginning and it kind of helped before I actually started learning a language. But they don't want to like totally demean it because they're too nice. So they'll just say like, oh yeah, it works. But they don't really mean it works. They just mean like, I used it for a while. It was one of the things I used. I think they kind of mean it didn't not work. It didn't make me worse at language. Then another section of people who are Duolingo apologists will tell you that it definitely works 100%. And this category, I straight up think are just lying. I don't think they've learned a language. Or if they have learned a language, they've learned how to say like, can I go to the bathroom in different languages? Like, because I've met people like this who will tell you, yeah, like I know 6 languages. And then you talk to them and you're like, you don't know, so you can't literally fluently speak and comprehend 6 different languages. You can just like say the basic stuff in a few, and maybe you can understand a little bit if it's spoken to you super slowly, but not natively, right? So I feel like there's a class of people who either they're deceiving themselves with how difficult it really is to learn a language, how much time it really takes, or they're just straight up lying. Because on the internet, people lie. Like, on the internet, I could know 7 languages, I could know 10 languages. I could tell you right now, I speak 10 languages. All I'm saying is people in comment sections can just lie. And the third thing is, I really think there's I really believe that some people don't know how they learned a language. Because when I was first beginning to learn Spanish, I reached out to my friend who was literally a Spanish teacher. He majored in Spanish and now he's married to a Colombian girl, and they're both bilingual. I asked him, I said, how would you recommend I learn Spanish? And he said Duolingo, right? So, I didn't know anything about language learning, so I said, okay, let me try Duolingo. And I tried it, and I was like top of the leaderboards for like a month, or maybe even more, like 2 months, no more than that. But, and I was like, when does the language learning start? To me, Duolingo, it felt like if it was going to work, it would be magic, right? Like, it felt like if this is going to eventually work, it would be magic, because I don't really feel like I'm doing anything. I feel like I'm just being tested, right? And so my point is this. After I became fluent in Spanish and I talked to that same friend and I said, hey, like, I actually learned through comprehensible input, not Duolingo. He's like, oh yeah, well, that makes sense. And I thought to myself, how did you learn Spanish? I'm like, maybe like he didn't know. Honestly, like, I think people don't know how they learned it. Like, he wasn't putting up an argument like, oh no, it worked for me. I think maybe he just went along with it. He's like, oh, I heard Duolingo was good, so I believe it's good. And he was a Spanish teacher, so he's a traditional classroom Spanish teacher. So of course he was under the impression that you can learn a language by doing grammar drills and teaching vocab and giant stacks of flashcards. Those are the 3 categories where kind of helped me a little bit for 10 minutes, then I actually started to really learn the language. Second, that's a little bit of a straw man. The first category is I used it a little bit in the beginning and I don't think it made me worse. Second category is people kind of lying or deceiving themselves on the internet. And the third category is people who just actually don't know how they learn the language. I was somebody who took a lot of time to think about the method I wanted to use. Like, I think you can see camps of those types of people on the internet. You can see people who spent a long time thinking about how should I learn a language and the theory behind it. And these people are systems people. Like I'm a systems person. I think in systems. I say, okay, I dump all my time and energy into this system. I want to make sure it's the right system, so I spend a lot of time, thinking through. Whereas I think some people are more, maybe they're more fluid learners. They're more, I don't know. I mean, I'm not anybody else. I've talked to other people who have learned languages, and I just think there's different personalities. Duolingo also, I think they're getting pretty defensive. I think they're seeing the change of the tide here, because if comprehensible input works, it works, and it's going to take over, right? So I forget who made the quote. Maybe it was Abraham Lincoln, but someone said, if something, or maybe it wasn't Abraham Lincoln, actually, don't quote me. So someone said, if something can't sustain itself, it won't, or something along the lines of that. Like, meaning, like, if you say to yourself, traditional language learning doesn't work and comprehensible input does, then we'd expect in the long term to see traditional language learning die out and comprehensible input take its place. Because, as you said, it doesn't work. So if something doesn't work over a long enough period of time, people take notice and we fix it. Basically, for me to understand that comprehensible input worked, I had to have that kernel of truth, which was that you can understand a language unconsciously. And when I felt that feeling of, oh my God, I'm understanding a language almost like it's English. It's coming to me in a different language and my brain is just picking it up like English. Once you feel that feeling, you understand, comprehensible input is the way to go. It's like, a language isn't a puzzle you're building in your head. A language is something you're absorbing from outside. And the more extreme variations of comprehensible input aside, I think that to me is the main point of the switch from traditional language learning to the new wave of comprehensible input. It's just that a language you do not build in your head. A language is not like a math or a science where the teacher gives you puzzle pieces in the form of vocab and grammar, and you have to sit inside your head and drill it and learn it and drill it into your brain consciously. No, that's not how you learn a language. A language is something that's unconscious, that you absorb, and it's completely the same as your native language. And I think people who've never learned a language before, they don't have this concept. They're like, well, how do you really understand Spanish? So to talk about that, I'm listening to Harry Potter right now to further my Spanish learning. And as an example, like, I'm not sitting there waiting for bracing myself for a sentence in Harry Potter to happen in Spanish, and then saying, okay, well, here's my dictionary book inside my head, here's my grammar rules book, let me, this word plus this grammar rule plus this vocab word equals this in English. And doing that, like brute forcing it, like totally making it a math problem. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what anybody does at the level of somebody who can read Harry Potter in a different language, because Harry Potter is so fast, your brain couldn't brute force it. Your brain has a different system, a different mechanism for language. It's not the same. And that's why I think it's hard for people who have never learned a language to understand this, because they're thinking of it as like every other thing. Like almost every other thing is, drill it into your head and it eventually works. So, I don't blame people. What I did right in the beginning when I heard about comprehensible input was I had like 6 super, super easy videos. One of them was Laura's video, the Little Red Book, like El Libro Rojo, no sé. I don't know exactly what the title of the video is, but it's like a children's book. And she's going through it, and obviously she's great. Most people who've learned Spanish have learned through her as well. Yeah, so what I did was I just put a video like that on. I had a few of them that I would put on, and I would listen to them over and over and over again. And I wasn't a purist with comprehensible input, because I would put on English subtitles and Spanish subtitles. When I really wasn't understanding a word in the comprehensible input, I would just look it up, and I would kind of just passively remember it and say, okay, like edificio. That's a word that you see in the book or in her video. I remember, and I was like, what does that mean? I'm just gonna look it up, right? And I was like, okay, it's a building. So now, just so my brain kind of has like a little bit of a way to get started, kind of trying to learn it. And all I would do is just listen to the video over and over and over again. And again, sometimes if the words in Spanish I couldn't tell where the spaces were in between the words, I would put the Spanish subtitles on so I could say, okay, like I kind of see that. Again, all of this is like could be blasphemy to somebody who's a purist in comprehensible input, but as I was saying, I think most people are kind of just, take it. They don't take it as a religion. They take it more of as a general outline. And that's how I took it. So basically, I'm going to clarify one point. In the beginning, I think comprehensible input is really hard, again, because you don't understand anything. They say you need to understand something 80% or more, and and that's comprehensible input. 80% or more comprehension, right? But in the beginning, it's almost impossible to get 80%. So you need to kind of hack it, right? So in the beginning, you hack it. But now, all I do is listen to things. I don't do anything else. I listen to things and I talk to my girlfriend who doesn't speak English very well. So I guess you could say I'm cheating there too. But I don't think I can stop talking to my girlfriend. I think that would probably cause an issue in my relationship. But most of my Spanish learning I attribute completely to comprehensible input. And also, before I end the video, I want to let you guys know the reason that this channel you're seeing right here, this channel that I'm speaking on, is actually a technical consulting channel, is because I'm a software developer and I just developed an app, and it's the app that I wanted when I first started learning languages through comprehensible input. It's basically a comprehensible input tracking app. It's really simple, convenient. You enter the URL of the resource you're using into the app. The app saves it, so you can track your hours that way. You get cool pie charts and graphs. But the other cool thing is all those resources that you save get pooled in the platform. So basically, a lot of languages like maybe that are less popular than Spanish, maybe like Italian, Portuguese, Korean, Japanese, maybe not Japanese, that's pretty popular. But all the less popular languages, you know, it's probably hard to find comprehensible input for a lot of those languages, especially rated comprehensible input. So I have a crowdsourced rating system and a resource pool, where basically the more time people enter on the app through entering resources, the more videos get populated. And I want to be clear as well, if you just want to use it as a spreadsheet, you don't care about your resources at all, totally fine, same thing. So I was a technical consultant for 6 years, so I have some eye for user experience. So again, I try to make it as streamlined as possible. I hate overcomplication. I ask you for as little information as I need to get you started. So you get on the app and you try it out, and give me some feedback. I literally just launched it this week. I do have a feedback survey thing in the app, but also if you just want to reach out to me, message me, talk to me. In my personal YouTube account, when I was doing comprehensible input, I would write all these comments about my opinions on comprehensible input, and they would get so many likes and questions. People are so interested in comprehensible input right now, which I totally understand, because I was the exact same way. In the beginning, you're obsessed with it. You're like, how do I do this, right? How do I get into language learning? And I know there's a market for people trying to get in the mind of someone who actually did it, and I totally want to be that resource for you guys, as well as market my language learning app, because I do think it's useful. I personally, if I redid my journey, I would track everything I did right from the beginning. And then my app allows you to do that, because you need to track your comprehension. You need to track what you were. It's really nice to track what you were watching and then come back and watch something you already watched to see if it's easier. And my app kind of facilitates that, because you'll watch something, you'll rate it. 3 months later, you watch it again, you put in your new difficulty rating, and you can see like how well you progress. Like, oh, this was I understood 50% of this, but now I understand 70% of this, right? So that's the kind of stuff I think is really important for comprehensible input, because it takes a long time. I always say it's like walking a marathon, and if you're going to start walking a marathon, if you're gonna walk a marathon, then you better be counting your miles, because someone walking a marathon is not gonna remember what mile they're on if they're not counting their miles, because just how far it is. Actually, it's more like an ultra marathon, you know, like 100 miles. Like, because in most cases it's 1,500 hours to become totally, completely native-like in a language, based on Pablo's Thai school calculations, which my app uses as well. Again, not affiliated with Dreaming Spanish, but you know, I've just adopted that level system because I am not smart enough to conjure up my own level system. I don't have the research. You just need those mile markers. You need something to track your progress. So of course, my app gives you a nice user progress modal. You get all the bells and whistles. You'll enjoy it. And you know, we kind of already have this. If you're just learning Spanish, you can just get Dreaming Spanish. But I do think that costs $8. I could be incorrect, but I think to use the progress system, it actually costs money. Mine is completely free. But I was more targeting with my app, you know, languages that are a little bit less popular. Of course, I would love to have people who are learning Spanish use my app as well, because you know, I learned Spanish, and if I could have had a giant pool of all the resources perfectly, you know, all of the best, all of the classics. We talk about Español con Juan, you know, Dreaming Spanish, all of the classics. If I had those all in a line, perfectly in a row for me, easy to find, difficulty rated, popularity rated, it would have been super helpful. So anyway, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in what I have to say, follow the channel. I'm going to give a little demonstration of my Spanish right now so you guys can believe me que yo hablo español. Y sí, yo hablo español y nunca sé qué decir cuando yo estoy mostrando mi español, pero sí, yo puedo hablarlo con fluidez hasta un punto, porque sí, todavía estoy aprendiendo. Solo llevo como 800 horas y un poco más que eso, pero sí, estoy todavía en mi journey y quiero seguir aprendiendo y con ustedes. Y también estoy usando mi propia aplicación. Así que sí, gracias por verme y...